Welcome back to This Week in Indian Hill Braves Athletics here in ESPN Media powered by Sidearm Sports and IndianHillBraves.org. I'm Jason Griefer. As always, we're joined by Indian Hill Athletic Director Brian Phelps. Brian, appreciate some of the time here this week. Busy week as always. Let's get right into it. And first of all, always like to talk about your star gymnast, Raylan Coward. Of course, since we last talked, she was named Cincinnati Enquirer Player of the Week with her performance up at Centerville, which we talked about on last week's show. She went out to Anderson this past weekend for their big Win the Day event with a lot of teams and a lot of strong performers out there individually. How did she perform out there at the Win the Day event?
She had a pretty good day. What was great about the event for her, the plan going into that event is to try to add some new things into the routine, see if some different things could earn her that extra half a point. So she really used that invitational as kind of an experimental type of invitational. So, it's tough, not kind of her normal comfortable routine, but she was, she gave it a go to see if some things would work going into the city championships in Turpin and obviously getting ready for the OHSAA tournament. So all in all, pretty good. I don't think she scored in place the way that she's been most of the year. But like I said, this meet was kind of used a little bit differently to kind of get her some confidence with some other type of routines.
How did she feel coming out of that with the way she was executing those routines? Did she feel good about being possibly be able to use those added bits, at least you said in the city championships, for example?
Yeah, so Turpin coming up, hopefully she can use that meet, kind of the same thing. I think anytime you're not totally comfortable with anything, it's a little nerve wracking, and she wants to win in everything she does, and every time she goes out. So I would say a little disappointment just for not making every routine as perfect as she wants it to be, but again, that's kind of the learning process and why you add some things and try some things out. So sure, she wanted to come out of there being the best gymnast. And from a score standpoint, it didn't happen this past weekend, but hopefully it's kind of building blocks into the next meet.
Let's switch gears. Let's move into the pool. Let's talk about your diving team here today. They went to Marymount on Saturday and saw some good results come there. Maggie Overberg finishes first. Josie Festa finishes second. So really good results there out at Marymount. Marymount always has a strong aquatics program, as we know. So now they're slated to take on West Claremont on Saturday. Big senior day, helping kind of wind the regular season down here as we're heading into the postseason, which is just right around the corner. And we'll talk about the postseason a little bit more on next week's show. But to get these results against a strong program like Marymount, I have to imagine that's a pretty good shot in the arm for their confidence, not only heading into the sectional or into the postseason, but also against West Claremont on senior day.
Yeah, that's right. West Claremont's set up to kind of recognize a lot of divers all across the city. It'll be one more tune-up before at Division II level. There's not a sectional this year. It goes right into districts to Miami. So one more tune-up for some of our kids to get a shot at districts and advance to state. And we feel like we have a few divers that can make it on to state, but they got to have great days. And we all know that. It comes down to one meet or one invitational, one game to be able to move on. And that's where we are at this point for diving.
Are they looking to maybe do something like Raylan did in the Win the Day meet for her and use this West Claremont meet as a way to maybe try a new thing or two, maybe add a half turn or a second another half roll on one of their dives, maybe experiment a little?
Well, our diving coach, Ray Noble, I think every opportunity we have to dive, it's just taking that next step. So whether it is trying to add that one last piece before the district meet or just, trying to come out of there as clean as possible and feeling good, it's going to depend on the diver. I know that he's more comfortable with where some of our divers are in their routines, and they just need to keep doing that to be ready. And a couple of our other divers, just as you mentioned, need to add that half turn or one little extra piece. So kind of depending on who it is will be the plan for the day. But again, at West Claremont, hopefully it's a little bit of a confidence builder going in the districts.
Let's talk about your wrestling team. And we were hoping to preview a kind of a big CHL quad match since there's, not a CHL championship this season, but you were scheduled to have a quad on Thursday with Madeira, Deer Park, and Finneytown, a really big tune-up intended for the sectionals. But now that is not going to happen. Take us through the circumstances there and what's next for the wrestling program.
Yeah, we came out of a meet a couple of Saturdays ago, and unfortunately, uh, the, the the bug hit us and wiped us out. So, however, I will say, our coach Nate Eiger tried to plan for this all year. That our meets, our invitationals, our smaller quads, whatever we were going to host or go to, ended in a time so we could still be ready for the tournament and have some practice time. And that's exactly what's happened. Our program shut down right now, but we're getting ready to come back here soon, and it'll give us a chance to practice and get ready for sectionals. But and we are finished with our season until the tournament starts.
How are they going to go about preparing for the sectional at that point, given the fact that you're no longer going to have any outside competition? I'd have to imagine it's going to be a little bit tougher, given that you're not going to see a different opponent across from you, and therefore maybe run the risk of going into the sectional a little cold.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we will find out if a little bit of a layoff kind of helps us and gets us a little healthier and all that kind of stuff, or if our conditioning just can't, we can't catch up on the conditioning. And as you said, kind of seeing those other opponents, and it's just the best we have right now. So we're going to try to make the most out of, a tough situation. And we don't know how it's going to turn out, but we're going to take the positive spin that the extra rest will help us going into the tournament and see what happens.
That could very well be the case. A lot of other programs are trying to load up with as many matches as possible. So there could be some potential fatigue from those and give your team an unforeseen advantage when it gets to that point. Let's move on to basketball, and let's start with the girls first. They're currently right in the thick of things for that league title. They're currently sitting tied with Marymount at the top at 7-2 in the league. Wyoming right behind at 6-2. Last week we go on the road and get a gritty win against a strong Taylor team, win that game 47-42. This past Saturday, take care of business rather easily against Finneytown 57-29, but sandwiched in between that, a tough loss to Wyoming for sure, losing that one 50-44, despite the fact that Ella Riggs could not miss seemingly. She scored 36 of the 44 points, but it wasn't enough. Wyoming's a very good defensive team. Now we look ahead, and we have a rematch coming this week with Wyoming, and it could very well, potentially knock them out as far as winning the league title. They've been very good in the league. It's also slated to be senior night. We'll honor Kennedy Green and Jaden James there. But in talking as far as the whole team goes, and you can also touch on those seniors if you like, how are the coaches going about getting the other players prepared for this game to take some of the pressure off of Ella, so that you don't need her to score 90% of your points, for example? And I know this was an outlier, but to have them ready, because you have to know Wyoming's gunning for her.
Yeah, no. So kind of to back up a little bit, back to that Taylor game, which was such a fun game. Taylor they really gave us a great effort. Ella Riggs scored her 1,000th point in that game. So we were able to celebrate that, and the Taylor community did a great job kind of celebrating, since we were at Taylor. Larry Hergis, their athletic director, really did a just first class job celebrating that with us. So that was great. The Wyoming game was a great game, and Ella really took over and scored most of the points. And as you mentioned, and we knew it would be a tough game. They're tough, gritty players, and we get another chance. When we knocked Marymount off and kind of getting that revenge game back, I think that gave us a lot of confidence. And as you mentioned, put us right back in the thick of things to be league champs or co-champs or however it turns out. And it's right in front of us. We have a chance to kind of get that same revenge game as we did with Marymount, to knock off Wyoming. But we know we have a tall task ahead of us. We know they're going to be trying to figure out how to stop Ella. And as you mentioned, that's why you have a team. That's why there's 5 girls on the court. And We've seen throughout the year some of the other girls step up and hit big shots, and because all year Ella's been the focus, obviously, and we've seen in different games lots of different kids contribute. So that's what we will need against Wyoming, no doubt. We'll need a full team effort, and hopefully we're ready to go. We'll see how it goes. And as you mentioned, it'll be a great opportunity to celebrate our two seniors, Kennedy and Jaden. And they've meant, a ton to our program. And those are two of the players that we will expect to get good games out of. They've both played well this year, and it'd be a great night for them to play well again, for sure.
And behind Wyoming, it's slated right now to close out the regular season against Madeira, who's well down in the CHL standings. But it also gets us ready for the postseason, and we now know the draw that has been announced for the sectionals. Since we last spoke, your team is a number 5 seed, going to take on New Richmond in the first round. You look at the brackets, we always kind of like to look ahead and see where we could end up. There's a potential matchup with the top seeded Roger Bacon looming in the district final. So that's down the road potentially. What was your reaction, and what was the coaches' reactions to the draw and where they are and potentially seeing Roger Bacon in the district final?
Yeah, our coach, Rachel Smith, was pretty happy with her draw. 5th seed, New Richmond, then the winner of McNick or North College Hill if we get past New Richmond. And, at some point, you got to play the best. And right now, Roger Bacon is that seed. And if we can get to that game, we just hope that we can be healthy and have our whole team. It feels like that's been kind of the story of the season. As soon as we have everybody that's on our roster at the same game, let's see how we can play. So hopefully now with the tournament around the corner, as you mentioned, we open with New Richmond next Thursday up at West Claremont at 7:30, and we just want our full team by then and kind of see what happens. But sure, if we get to that sectional championship game against Roger Bacon, we know we're going to have to play our best basketball, but it's possible. And I don't think we've played our best basketball yet. And that would be a great game to play our best basketball and come out on top.
And even before that, you've still got a chance to win a league title on the girls' side. You also have a really good shot at winning the league title on the boys' side, especially coming off of Monday night's huge road win at Wyoming. And win that game 56-50, jump out on them early. Actually took a 9-point lead at the end of the first quarter and really kind of a seesaw battle back and forth. But you get the win there. Now you're 5-0 in the league, 7-1 overall. But doesn't get any easier for you because you have Taylor coming tonight, actually, as currently scheduled. And Taylor looking for revenge. You just beat them a couple of weeks ago. It's their only loss in the league. They're 6-1. And in the CHL, they're 13-3 overall. They've had a really, really fine season. You look back to that first matchup, and just a couple of weeks ago, you hold Taylor to 29% from the floor and one of their lowest scoring outputs of the season. Can it be an advantage for your team knowing that they're going to see a team in Taylor and knowing they shut them down just less than 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that's a good question. The fact is, when we went to Taylor, we played really, really well, and they didn't. And we know we're going to get a different team this time around, just coming off a big emotional key win for us last night, against Wyoming, which was a lot of fun, obviously, for us. And I would be shocked if any one of our coaches or our kids are looking past Taylor. They know a fight's coming tonight. You can always fall in that kind of all your adrenaline was last night and you're not ready for tonight. I don't think that's going to be the case. They know how much is on the line. They know how good Taylor is. But all year, I think if you talk to Tim Birch, our head coach, we've prided ourselves on defense. We have some really good defenders. We have some kids that really shoot the ball well too. But if we can play defense the way that we played defense really most of the year, then that's going to give us the best chance. And again, golly, Taylor's good, and it's going to be tough for us tonight. But again, like the girls, it's all right in front of us. I know Taylor plays us in Wyoming twice, and of course we have Wyoming one more time. The league's up in the air. It's been fun. It's been a great CHL boys and girls league, even with all the scheduling kind of getting messed up and rescheduling. It's been a lot of fun for Indian Hill basketball for sure.
Looking ahead a little bit on the schedule, originally we were slated to take on West Claremont this coming Saturday. That is not happening. West Claremont, I think, believe has actually gone into quarantine, and so we looked to fill the schedule. And boy, you picked up a doozy to try and fill it. You're going to take on LaSalle out of the GCL on Saturday instead. This is a pretty good litmus test, especially late in the regular season. I think, and for me, I'm looking at this as a really good opportunity to have your team get a good idea of what to expect when they get to the postseason. Is that what the coaches were thinking here?
Yeah, to quote Coach Birch, I think he said, "Heck yeah, why not?" Kind of thing. we had St. X scheduled earlier in the year that was canceled due to our shutdown, and heck, why not? They're one of the top programs around. Brian Meyer over there is a good buddy of mine, and I called him and I said, "Can you give us the game?" And they obviously happen to be open as well. And they said, why not? So they're coming over here to the village of Indian Hill on Saturday night, and we're going to give them our best effort. We played Cuff Cath earlier in the year. Like I said, we had St. X on the schedule, West Claremont on the schedule. So we see it as a fun game for our kids to be able to play in. And as you said, a litmus test. We may have some tired legs with I think we have 9 games in 15 days or something like that. But to have an opportunity to play a top program like LaSalle, we wanted to jump on that for our kids and really our community, even though it's not the same kind of fan base we're used to having, and our seniors. I mean, to be able to go out their senior year in a game like that, I think was pretty important.
Aren't you glad you're not on the floor and having to play 9 games in 15 days?
No doubt about it. I don't know how they're holding up, but they're doing a great job, and it's like I said, it's been so much fun on the boys and girls side for basketball, and just bless those kids for giving it all they have every single day.
Well, and so the boys, they're going to host LaSalle on Saturday, but the night before, you're going to host Finneytown, and that's also going to serve as a senior night there for your cheerleading squad and your one senior diver. We look at the schedule here, and we see there are still some more home games scheduled at this point. What went into the decision to go ahead and honor your senior cheerleaders on this night against Finneytown?
Yeah, just with all the restrictions that we have, we're trying to break it up a little bit and not have everybody the same night. The boys will be the following Friday night, which is our last home game versus Wyoming. And just to give those seniors a little more of an opportunity to have their family present. We are limited by the capacity rules, and by splitting it up, we can try to have the best experience for all of our seniors. And it just seemed like the right way to handle it this year.
Lastly, before I let you go, there's a lot of stuff going on around Indian Hill really all week long, as we've noted here on the podcast today. There's also a pretty big football game coming up this Sunday that I know, everybody's going to be watching. Tom Brady's now at home in Tampa, which is still weird. Chiefs going for another ring here. Can you give us some insight here, what you think is going to happen in the big game? And also, are you going to have like a huge spread at the Phelps house?
We'll probably have a little skyline dip or something like that. But,
there you go.
Brady and I are the same age. So, I got to go with the old guy. And, but my little guy at home, I have 4 kids, 3 daughters and a little guy that's a kindergartner. They're Chiefs fans. They love Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. So there might be a little fight in the household. The old and the new, but what a fun matchup, and really kind of what that does, it crosses a couple different generations. You have the young kind of crowd that's grown up with the Patrick Mahomes, which is so much fun to watch, and then you have kind of the older crowd that have watched Tom Brady for 20 years play, and so it should be a fun game. I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City, but. And I really don't care who wins. I guess I'm
I think
pulling
one
for
of the,
Brady to just win as many as he can before he retires.
he's halfway on to the second hand as far as rings go if he's able to get it done here. One of the to think about for fans though, if you remember, and you remember this as well as I do, Steve Young, great quarterback for the 49ers. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame at age 43, and here is Tom Brady in his 58th Super Bowl at the age of 43. It's crazy what he's been able to do. So we'll be tuning into that, and we'll be tuning into how everything shakes out in CHL play, basketball. The diving's getting going here. Raylan Coward still does all kinds of things that look anatomically impossible, but we'll be checking in on her and all things Indian Hill next week. Brian, once again, we appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you. Have a great week.
Absolutely. That is Brian Phelps, athletic director at Indian Hill High School, joining us for this week in Indian Hill Braves athletics here on IndianHillBraves.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.